Introducing the one, the only, the Mr. Made, Mr. Style, Mr. David Burman.
Good morning, Windsor.
Cheers. It's a mimosa podcast day. Welcome to the podcast. We were excited to have you on. Really excited to have you on because we know you probably have a lot to talk about. And
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
So this market has gotten super competitive over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and everybody's trying to up the ante in their listings. And obviously, as prices go up, agents are finding themselves making more money. And to combat that without having to reduce commissions, we obviously have to reinvest that money into our clients and into our listings. And a big one that's been coming in is staging. Obviously, that's a whole industry that's kind of taken. It's always been there, but it's taken a leap to the forefront of most listings now, and it's getting to the point where if you're not staging, you're behind. And
why don't you tell us a little bit about when and how you got Mr. Style started?
Sure. So I started with Mr. Made. Actually a decade ago. Seems crazy.
Wow.
And I was doing a lot of pre-cleanings in homes in preparation for sale. And a lot of these homes really, truly needed my touch. Before that, I had done 1 or 2 vacant homes. I did a big one on Elm Grove with Terry Hughes in 2014. I was 24. And no one was doing staging. I know a good friend and mentor of mine, she started it initially in 2004, and she would actually stage models, but the idea was it would stay in the models for 6 months. There wasn't turnover like there would be today, so you can't really generate a lot of revenue, especially with the investment that you have to put in. Sorry, it's just a stage.
Come on, man.
Booking a stage as we speak. But I saw the opportunity because, again, whether the market's high or the market's low, people will always want their houses to sell for top dollar. For sure. So, Joe, Paul Germany's, back in the day, they were really the only guys really seeing the investment. And again, I think it's a young, fresh mind in the market, which at that time you guys were, to see, let's try something different. You've always pushed the hand of anything creative to really just cater and best provide for your clients. And again, so slowly but surely we're staging, 1, 2, maybe 3 a month. And as the years got better, and I think social media plays a huge factor in that. Because
and word of mouth for sure.
Word of mouth for sure. But even when we started, there was 1 or 2 photographers in Windsor. And then as the business got bigger, social media got bigger, you would see more photographers. I remember 3 years ago, we were one of the only ones staging, and there was, slowly 2 photographers, then there was 3 photographers, and then now, there's more staging companies. But social media played such a big factor in that, because before no one really cared about the aesthetic, but now aesthetic is huge. And you'll see that even with the new builds, like people are skeptical to buy an old house, and that's sad to say because I love character. Look at this gorgeous house we're in right now.
1900, yeah.
1900.
Did you have business models to sort of fashion your business after? I mean, if you look east, obviously from here towards Toronto and the GTA, they were probably doing a little bit more of this before we were here because their market got crazy and more competitive than we were
for sure
for a long time, right? Did you kind of?
It was. I mean, I always had an eye for design, and so I was always invested in it. And so I didn't really do research on it. I just always. It was kind of an anomaly. Like I'm shocked, 7 years later, I was like, I can't believe my, crazy ass decided to do something like this, because I truly, started cleaning toilets and then transitioned into staging.
I'll tell you, you got to see this guy's place because we've all seen it. We did a photo shoot there, but your warehouse where you keep all your furniture is like an endless museum of amazing artifacts. Like you go in there and it's like where they would keep the Ark of the Covenant.
You do have a shop now right next door.
We do, yes.
And this is on Ottawa Street across from Lansbury Park. And it's right next to the warehouse, and I'm sure if someone's ever interested, just walk by and take a peek in the windows. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool place.
It's an old bowling alley.
It is an old bowling alley. It's from like the early 50s. We're actually celebrating our 4-year anniversary in the building, and thank God I bought that when I did, because
No kidding.
I don't think I could afford a small sliver of it at this point. But we're actually doing a full-on renovation.
Are you really?
So we're gutting the complete front, and I mean style and your taste changes over the years.
Yeah.
So we're going a completely different dynamic. I'm ripping off, the front siding, like we're going full on.
Cool.
That's something I wanted to ask you is like, how do you keep up with style changes and trends? When you say like we're doing a facelift or we're completely restyling it, you have this huge warehouse of all this furniture, and what happens tomorrow when styles start to change? Do you have to keep cycling this stuff out, selling it, and continuing to keep up with that?
So that's a big thing, especially with our volume. If you're doing 4 to 5 stages a day, which right now we're doing 4 stages a day.
It's crazy.
We are doing our due diligence to try and sell it out. But the one thing is like trends are trends. So I find other design companies, other staging companies, they have a specific niche, whether it's boho trendy or like farmhouse or whatever the trend is at the time. We try to be everything. So I can do farmhouse, I can do modern, we can do transitional, we can do art deco. I can go into any house. Obviously I have my favorite styles, but the key is to kind of obviously have neutral pieces and then have those impactful pieces, and just luckily our size, we're able to circulate it. But over the holidays, like, people did not want to list their homes. We were piling our 12,000 square foot building, piling sofas to the sky.
Gosh.
So I can never have my stuff at one time.
How many stages can you have going on at one time? Like, do you kind of have a limit that you can't go over?
So last year we did 475 stages, just installations, and then probably almost another 500 pickups.
And that's
Wow.
full stages, partial stages.
That's Monday to Friday, mixed, partial, vacant.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's incredible.
And then we had probably 35 design clients last year. So, almost 30 of those we installed as well as that. So we were in 500 homes.
That's insane.
On average, we're doing 20 a week on a really busy week.
I think it's about to even go.
Well, and you
It's-
should see this guy
Oh,
work.
yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been to
incredible.
a stage, it's like a full home stage is not as long as you'd think it would take. They show up with a big trailer, and they can remove the client's entire house of furniture and replace it with their own furniture and art pieces on the wall and plants and things like
And
that in like what, 3 hours?
Max 3 hours.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I sleep
Can you
and
imagine?
stage. So I stage instead of sleeping, I dream about the next day's staging.
Yeah.
Could you imagine helping 5 friends move every day?
I know. That's
We're
that's
glorified
crazy.
movers
Yeah.
in a sense.
Like, how do you prevent how do you prevent burnout? You go to Florida.
Drink a lot.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Bottoms up. I find obviously when you're passionate about what you do, it's easy.
You got a good team behind you.
I have the best
You
team,
do.
and they're passionate, and it's great to see how their style has all changed. And again, like, our style evolves. Like, when I first started, I loved blue and orange, and now I'm like, don't put something orange near me.
Yeah.
But with my team, it's so exciting to see. Even Sam, my general manager, she started as a personal assistant. Now she's a full-on project manager leading multi-million-dollar design projects. So it's
so cool.
great to see how
You have family helping?
my dad's my CFO. My aunt is my
That's cool.
gopher, as we like to call her. My crazy Aunt Robin, which if you know me, you know my crazy Aunt Robin. And my mom wants to work for us, but we don't want my mom. I mean, we love her, but
Yeah.
Love you, Mom.
Love you, mom. Shout out to my mom.
Give her a puzzle.
But yeah, you know what? Either myself
Go sit in the corner.
or we find like family, like Sam's brothers, cousins, everyone has a relative in the business. It's easier to keep people invested and connected. But you guys know how it is. It's easier to, have family, but at the same time, sometimes
A little distance.
Yeah, a little distance never hurt.
Now, what do you do to keep up with like modern trends? Like, how do you keep your pulse on things? Obviously, it's easy to just be like all boho, or you got your mind on one type of stage. But how do you keep yourself up to date with those trends?
So a big thing for me, I've always been super passionate about design. So I go past, Windsor's great, but to be quite frank, we're about 5 years behind. And I hate to say it, we are behind. So I follow New York, designers around the world who are like inspire me, or inspire something that's related to the business. But again, a trend is a trend. We try to, work with the trends, but still follow that timeless. I mean, the reality is the house is where you need to invest that effort. So like trend is a trend, but if the house is, for example, like crazy colorful, you can't necessarily put all white because it's just going to clash. So you got to do what the house needs. It's like medication. If you have diabetes, you're not going to take heartburn.
That Riverdale one you did was great. Like it was an old cottage style, and you came in with more colors and made it really pop because it had the pink carpet and the wallpaper. Exactly. So you worked off that, and that's what we try to find something that we can run with. The other thing too is like the demographic or who I feel is going to buy the house. So if it's smaller, a lot of times I'll do someone my age. So if it's a single female entrepreneur or a young couple, we'll try to navigate it to them. If it's if it's in the Banwell area and it's a townhouse, I'm gonna do more of my parents' style demographic. So we try to follow what the house needs, is what we call it, or what we feel someone buying it would like. So there's always a need for a type of furniture. So when I asked before, how do you cycle out old trends? I guess you kind of hang on to it because old trends actually work for some houses, right?
We try our best. So one thing obviously I'm trying to do is, when I first started, I'd get the craziest art. But, there's keys to obviously having longevity in your pieces. So more neutral pieces are less aggressive in the sense of if you're doing 20 stages a week, it's going to start to look old. So finding neutral pieces is obviously a way to get around that. But you'll start to see like other staging companies who have lower inventory. You can see the repetition in their houses, and that's one thing we try to avoid at all costs. So every time we get a pickup, it comes back, it's sanitized, cleaned, and then we mix it. You know what I mean? You mix it, send it back out, so it's never looking the same.
That's a new addition to your business now. Hey, is the sanitize and clean is more important than it ever has been.
It's huge.
Good thing you, Mr. Maid.
Yeah, good thing you're a cleaning company.
You know what? Like even I don't think people really truly understand like how important cleanliness is to selling your home. The second someone sees dirt, they start to look at the baseboards, the neglect on the walls, the cracking. Like the cleaner your house is, the more aesthetically pleasing your house is, the less
Even if it's dated. If your house is Showtime ready, a lot of these like European style homes that they're dated, but they're like so clean. You feel more comfortable buying it because Nona was scrubbing that.
For sure.
Well, and we talked about this before. We were saying, like even Martin said, I think in his podcast, he said that one of the things he finds that sells houses the best is just being clean. And it's hilarious to think that, same thing. The house can be super dated, but if it's really nice and clean and move-in ready, people feel comfortable with
what
that.
it shows? It shows you that person has probably taken care of the home through the years. If they're willing to take care of the daily tasks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's pride of ownership, I guess. Let's talk numbers a tiny little bit. Because obviously, it's not an inexpensive thing to do. It's a little bit pricey.
For sure.
But you're not hurting for business. Yeah. But from a client's perspective, obviously it's really tough for them to put a value on their own home because, obviously if they use your staging service, they're never going to see what their house would have sold for if they hadn't staged it. But we do have some real world data out there, and you can kind of speak to that a little bit. Like what can somebody expect numbers wise?
A lot of people think, like that's a lot of money, I can just go to HomeSense and stage it myself. And we encourage you to try, because I have wholesale accounts coming out my tuchus, as we call it in the Jewish world. But we still need those HomeSense trips, and like my average HomeSense trip, and that's again not even a full house, is $10,000 to $12,000. Yeah. So we encourage people, like, try to furnish your home or stage it for under 10 grand. It's not going to happen. No. So that's where the biggest investment is. Like, it costs money. Your typical sofa, especially at HomeSense now, you can't get a set of two. So you can't get two side tables. You can't get four bar stools. So we have that advantage. But the reality is your average home to furnish it costs upwards of $50,000. That's if you're conservative.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money that we're putting in. The labor alone, you know, I got 5 people at a time, including myself. We're there, you know, the truck, the trailer, there's all these different factors, the setup and the pickup. But on average, I'd say the homes are selling for at least $50,000 more. If you calculate that as a realtor, you know, even if you guys were to invest half of it and the homeowner invests the half, or you even put it out and charge more of a percentage of your commission, you're gonna get it back. It's hard for older realtors or a traditional homeowner, especially in a market like this. They're like, well, it's a crazy market. My house is gonna sell no matter what. It's like, the crazier the market, the more important stages, because again, generating more cost.
But it's unbelievable the difference of how a staged home or a vacant home even and looks. Like it's night and day. And I'll have clients all the time. They're like, we don't need to stage it. I want to give people the potential of seeing what it could be themselves. And then they go and stage it, and they're like, oh no, this
much better.
Like
a lot of times too, especially for like awkward areas or smaller homes.
Exactly,
I mean, there's so many different reasons why you should stage. If it's too big and too expensive, like we've done $3 million homes, and as a family, you know, they're like, I don't want my kids slipping on these marble floors, but it's like if you put a rug over it and dress it nice, it feels warm and welcoming. If it's a small house and you don't think a queen size bedroom can fit in that, and right now with the market being as it is, like people can't get a lot for what they used to. So these smaller homes, you have to really jazz up to show, hey, Riverdale, for example. I mean, it was dated. It needed a lot of TLC, but the bones are there. The house has so much potential. The more you jazz it up, you know, the better it is.
Exceeded expectations for the seller.
And then
now
again,
I have to say too, because my client actually bought that house.
Awesome.
And he walked through the house and he's like, how do I just buy this?
Yeah.
Does that ever happen?
It actually happens more recently than it did before. I think before people, again, were like, oh, I'll just go to Home Center. Oh, I can find this myself.
Do you offer that?
Oh, we do. I sold the fully furnished loft a couple weeks ago.
Good to know.
So I highly encourage it. The reality is that people want a deal. They're like, oh, it's staging furniture. The reality though is I sourced that. I picked it up. I keep it clean.
Matched it to the house.
I matched, not even, that's a given, but like, it's like, good luck finding something in stock. Our design clients right now, when we design, I say to them, do you want it soon or do you want it in a year or 3 years? So like, for example, when I did a personal investment property in Florida, I sourced everything solely on what was in stock. People have ordered stuff 2 years ago. It still hasn't come in. Yeah. So it's like, you want this sofa for a deal, but good luck finding a sofa that you like, that you're going to get in 2 days.
It helps you cycle your
that's true too. Yeah.
It really does. So we're actually, after we're doing a renovation at the building, we're going to be opening the building to a full-on furniture and home decor source. So you can come in, you'll walk with one of our designers and you can purchase anything.
That's cool.
And let's say you want that sofa, want a different color, we'll be able to offer it.
That's crazy.
But we're going to intermingle, you know, we like to call them our models. So our model items with new items. So it's like, you can take the one or we can order you a brand new one. So it's kind of a cool option. Now more than ever though, people, they want it now, they want it quick, they want it fast. So we're seeing so many people try to buy our stuff.
Yeah. Well, and especially like we were saying again, sometimes with a older, more quirky home, you think like looking at a space, how am I going to furnish this? But when you can walk in the house and see it exactly there, it's like the convenience of just being like, but this works, I'll just take that.
For sure.
I can definitely see the draw on that. For sure.
Now, do you find the pricing on the furniture, like you obviously get things in bulk, you source out deals and things like that. So when you sell it to them, obviously there's a fee in there for you guys, but in the end, it's probably not too far off of what it would have cost them to go and buy the stuff new and those things.
Yeah. So again, like, because it does take time, and I have to keep, you know, like for example, at the end of March, we have Tour de Furniture with Urban Home, Facade, and Bertoni chairs. Cool. And I'm a little low-key freaking out because I don't, number one, have anything in my warehouse. But it's like I could sell everything off, but then I still have 30 stages in the next 2 weeks. So that's the thing. It's like I'll sell it, but I'm not giving anything away at this point, unless it's, usually what happens is when I'm ready to sell it, I just give it to someone in need, because I don't feel right selling something that I've known I've used. And so a lot of times, like what I like to do, it's kind of weird, but my friends buy a house, I'll furnish their house with my old stuff. Yeah. And then I go and visit, and it's like my kids are,
we're friends.
I'm like a foster parent to furniture.
We're friends at this point.
Yeah, let's go.
Do you do consulting, like for people, like just people who want to furnish their homes and try to get a better eye on their
Yeah, so we offer full service design services.
Yeah, that's great.
Anywhere from like a quick bathroom reno all the way to, I did a multifamily design with Fortis Group, the Urban Suites. So we're actively, right now I probably have 40 design clients.
Wow.
So what I love, $3 million builds all the way to like, again, quick
what I love about your
projects.
business and your model is that you're not tied to one revenue stream. You're not tied, you're because the real estate market is going to change.
Yes.
Whether it happens, 6 months from now or it happens 5 years from now, eventually it's going to change, and the landscape may change for something, like staging or whatever other peripheral you see in the real estate market. As the market flip-flops on itself, eventually things are going to change, and companies are going to have to pivot. So it's really good that you've sort of created all these different avenues of,
you got Mr. Made, Mr. Style. You have your consulting service, which is an arm of Mr. Style.
Yep.
You have your storefront.
Yes.
You have your own kind of brand collection.
Correct. Yes.
Which would be your candles and decor that comes from the storefront. And you're working on something else right now, aren't you?
Yeah, so we have seen the need. So as you guys know, especially with young families, if you're staging your house, the first week is the most crucial part of that listing. If you have a young family or you have animals or whatever the scenario is, you can't keep your house showtime ready. So we see all the time people are trying, to book a last minute Airbnb. We are gonna
concierge.
We're going to change that. So I'm in the process of building a townhouse in Lakeshore, right off of Oakwood Trail. So it's a Lakeland development. Yep. And then I have one at the Soho with Fortis Group. So we're going to have two.
Shout out Lakeland, shout out Fortis.
Yeah, this is sponsored. Also by Beach Bum Spray Tan. Looking dark over here. Thank you so much.
I'm going to drink more mimosa.
Yeah, exactly. Getting ready for a trip. So the biggest thing is like being able to say, okay, we're staging for you for another $1,500. Go stay in our luxed out, fully staged unit. I have a 2-bedroom in South Windsor. We're going to have a really pimped out Lakeshore townhouse. And go stay there. We'll clean it for you. We'll change your sheets if we have to, and enjoy it while you are selling your house.
So you don't have to get kicked out of your house every 15,
so just
20
like Mr.
minutes.
Made and Mr. Style, you start and kind of see where it goes from there and see if the ball's moving. I think it's great.
And again, it doesn't. It's at the end of the day, it's going to be there's multiple streams in that self. So yeah, I might not have someone rent it out, but I could put it on Airbnb. I could. Think about 100 of our clients are. Even myself, I was supposed to close on the house in February, but with the supply and demand issues, it's closing end of April. Right. So if someone, their stuff's packed up and they're trying to close on a house or move into the new build, here's your fully furnished option.
Yeah, that's
or
awesome.
even, we know what we're doing. Go rent it out for a photo shoot, engagement photos. They're just going to be really cool blank canvases. Well, not so blank, but unique canvases that people, look at what you guys did. You came into our office, you did a team photo shoot. It's another opportunity for someone to do their branding photos as a realtor. It's just one of those really unique spaces.
I love it.
And if it dies out, I'll sell it. You know what I mean?
Or
we'll rent it out.
You're not going to be losing any money on that.
It's still an investment, still an Airbnb. Great.
Exactly.
It's the evolution of real estate in Windsor since I've been in the business was like you had your traditional realtor listing, photos were meh. And social,
on their cell phone.
Yeah, social media became
over the lens.
Yeah.
Social media, I think, was like the first arm where younger realtors were coming in and starting to add that digital ad space, and then people had to try and keep up. And then professional photography came in. It wasn't just photos done by yourself anymore. It was, Devin Pastorius was a big name that came in and started that.
It was huge.
And then everybody had to jump on that bandwagon to keep that going. And
I think Devin even couldn't keep up with the demand. Like he was probably photographing 100 a week. I mean, like, I'm sure Devin's stats are insane for the first couple of years.
I'm sure they are.
But I mean, the cool, unique teams like you guys and Paul, you guys have your own in-house.
I gotta give Paul a shout out because I think Paul was one of the first to really adapt Devin, and he was one of the first to adapt yourself
for sure.
And I gotta give him props on that because he's always been kind of right there in the know of what's coming up, and we're always keeping our pulse on the market and doing those things as well. And I see that evolution of going from social media advertising to professional photography to virtual tours to staging, now to basically putting your clients up in a hotel. The level of service, the ante keeps going up as we're getting paid more. So
don't you find...
I don't want to get paid more and just do the same level of service.
Exactly.
If we're gonna justify the commissions being paid, one, we got to knock it out of the park, and we have to up the ante on what we're bringing to our clients.
Don't you find you kind of need, and it's going to be the same for your business as it is for our business, as it is for Devin and his business. You need to constantly stay ahead of that curve because 100%. There's competition entering the market every year. I mean, we looked at stats the other day on how many realtors there were. Like when I even started in this 4 or 5 years ago, how many realtors there were. I think it was like maybe 800 realtors in Windsor Essex County. And now there's how many?
I think it's like 1,500.
1,500. So it's literally doubled. And I can see the same thing happening for your business because there are other stagers out
for
there.
Sure.
Yes and no. That is a tough business one to crack in.
100%.
Especially when there's names like yourself that own the market.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You can't just overnight flip us. Like someone go get a real estate license and put an ad on Kijiji and try and become a realtor. But to go get a warehouse, fully furnish a warehouse, and have a name that people trust, and have trucks and staff to do that.
It took us 5 years to really do it properly. To do it.
And I think you're only able to do it in 5 years because you were the trendsetter and the one that started it. To jump in and do that in 5 years now is the same as saying to an agent, jump in and become a good realtor in 5 years now.
Well, that's just
it's
it.
too competitive.
You need to be able to build your brand and build your trust, but also
the relationships is so important.
Yes, it is. Yeah. But also what's really important is being able to offer them things that other people can't, right? Being able to stay ahead of that curve because like you're talking about, being able to put somebody up in a fully furnished townhome, take care of their pets, take care of them, give them cleaning, give them that peace of mind. That's not something that anybody else is doing or even can do.
Yeah.
And those are the important things. And you have to keep doing that consistently throughout your entire career.
This is the realtors that have been in the business a little longer have a bigger clientele, so they're able to spend more money on things to up their services, right? And the newer agents are going to have a hard time competing with that, just like a newer stager is going to have a hard time competing with that. And the only way they really can compete is undercutting.
And that's what it is. I mean, we have it all the time. That's actually happening a lot to us. Not with our, again, relationships are so important. So, with you guys, it's like family. With Paul, it's family. So we have those relationships, even with your clients. They trust you. Whatever goes, we trust it. And that's why you have repeats. But the undercutting is so huge in this market. I hear it all the time. I hear what realtors are doing to other realtors. We hear it all the time where we're getting quotes and they're like, sorry, they offer to do it lower. And I'm like, you know what? That is fine. But then please don't waste my time because we're prioritizing coming to you. I'm giving you my ideas. I'm giving you our passion. If you're just going to get 4 quotes, go with that other quote.
Yeah.
No issues.
You're like, I got 5 other houses to stage today.
Yeah.
But it's not even.
You don't want to get too cocky about it. But it's you understand the value of your brand.
But what I'm saying is, you don't have games to play here. You got a business to run.
Exactly.
I'm not here to play games. I got other shit and other people to take care of. If you're going to diminish my service and my value, then go to the other person.
Exactly.
I got other shit going on.
Or just tell us your bottom line. Tell us your budget. If you're like, hey,
and we'll work with it. Exactly.
I got this much money to work with. I'm like, okay, we're going to find a way to help you. If it's lower than I want, I'm like, look, I'll do this, this, and this, and we're going to generate way more than you would if you went with a lower end or entry level stage.
And we see it. I mean, over and over again. And it's the same thing with really any business. I mean, you can go to a roofer, a plumber, electrician, and they can undercut their competition, but you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you will find a top quality anything for that undercut price. And why would they? I mean, if you're really good at what you do, then people are going to pay you. And if people pay you, then why would you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it is true that you get what you pay for. And I don't know many industries where you can get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I think it's important too to to respect yourself, because I remember like even when I first started, I would like, I don't want to say whore myself out, but like you like
but whore yourself out.
Yeah, you know, like you need to know your own value. Like look at what I mean. That's funny, the memes, but like it's like
David Burman.
Yeah, there's $5. What is it? $5 a gallon. It's like I have to take my client to 3 showings this week, and I'm running out of gas. Like,
yeah.
So it's like those kind of things where it's like there's value in what we do, and we spend a lot of time, especially you guys, and with this market. It's like if you're on the buying end and you have new buyers and you're going to 40 different listings. Yeah. And they continue to lose out. Right. You're spending so much time and effort with that client that, you know, you need to charge them that full commission. Like, don't be discounted. And same with selling. Like, if you're helping them get a stager, helping them get a cleaner, helping them get a painter. I mean, think about all the things you do, Joe. Yeah. You're like a full service. Like, you're like, let's get a bricklayer to redo your brick. Like,
it's true. Yeah.
But you can't. And then, you know, they want a discount. And it's like, or it's like repeat clients. It's like, you know, we're giving you, I hear this all the time. Well, we're going to have 3 stages. I'm like, I'm going to do it for you 3 times.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
I find it's really tough. People have a really tough time. I always say that my quote is money now versus money later, right? Clients have a really tough time understanding what money is going to come when they're looking at how much they have to pay now, right? So the stage is going to cost them money. The commission that we charge is going to cost them money. You know, the maybe the extra services we do, if we bring a bricklayer in, if we do this, if we do that, right? It's going to cost them money, but the return they're going to get from doing all of that is going to be so much bigger. But it is tough for people to wrap their minds around.
If we didn't add value, our industry wouldn't exist. And let's, as an example, let's just use $100,000 for easy math. If you have a $100,000 home and you pay a 5% commission, you're paying $5,000. Okay, but if you put a sign on your lawn on your $100,000 home, chances are statistically you're going to get around $100,000, right? And if you hire an agent that's doing the bare minimum, they're doing not much different than you putting a sign on the lawn.
Cell phone pictures.
Yeah. They're not doing any much different than putting a sign on the lawn.
No social media.
If they sell it for just around 100, like you could have done yourself, and you're still charging them that 5%, they're gonna walk away with $95,000. But if your realtor is doing extra added advertising and adding a service that brings value, and they bring you in 110 to 120,000, and you pay that 5%. Now you're walking away with an extra 10. Yes, they're making 5, and that's what people look at. They're like, well, he's making $5,000. But you're making another 10 or another 15.
Yeah.
I would pay somebody $100,000 if they could make me another $100,000.
And the nice thing about the service is that we're fronting that upfront cost. We're not saddling that on a client, right? Yeah. So oftentimes with things like stage, like we'll take care of that. And then,
which is a huge investment and huge faith in the client. Like you're investing a lot in the client, because I mean everything's selling now, but again, like you're taking the risk.
Absolutely.
And there's not a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of realtors who pay for it, but there's a lot of realtors who don't pay for it. So, you know, I can't open my mouth and say, oh, that realtor doesn't pay, but you know, that's huge. As you know, people don't know, not everyone's doing that. So that's huge for you guys.
We wouldn't be busy, and we wouldn't be getting the referral business and the repeat business that comes back if we weren't adding value. Like if I went and did a stage with Burm and I didn't see that extra value, then it would only be about 2 or 3 stages before I realized that, and that would be kind of the end of that, because I tried it didn't work. The reason we're years into this now, and now more agents are jumping in, because it's truly adding that value to the service.
It works.
Realtors are jumping in, and people are saying this is the easiest time to sell a home, but agents are being used more than ever because there's still a value added, and there's a lot of hate towards realtors, and I understand the market's frustrating, but the reason agents are still being used is because it's hard to argue that it's hard to argue that realtor.ca and the softwares and the systems that kind of own the market, it's kind of argue that they don't add the value. I mean, most buyers have buyer agents that work off of MLS and realtor.ca, and if you're not in that web, then you're not in the web. You're just not going to make the money. And it's same with the staging. If you don't properly advertise your home, there's going to be 10 listings that somebody looks at, and they're going to look at the photos first. And if you don't appeal to that person, you're not going to show up. And that staging is the difference of somebody showing up to the front door and not showing up to the front door.
I think if you don't have an agent, number one, you're not going to get a house. And if you're going to get it, you're going to overpay. But even like, you know, investing in a different market, I'm trying to move into the Florida market. Like there's so many things that I don't know as a first time buyer in a different market. Obviously in this market, it's different. But I mean, look at like appraisals. People are selling their houses for $600,000 and it's worth $400,000. And then your appraisal comes in and you're like, shit, what do I do? You guys come in, you're like, well, let's go this route, this route, this route, this route. No one can do that other than an agent. Same with the offers. Like you guys go in, you make relationships with the other realtors. I've never seen like the young ones specifically. The young agents are so close. Like the relationship you have with Paul, the relationship you guys with other agents. That wasn't like it before. They used to like, I remember back in the day, I had a family friend who was interviewing. He asked me to interview realtors for his high-end listing, and there was one agent in Windsor who basically said to me that, first of all, he talked crap about every other agent that we were interviewing. Then he told me that real estate is more important than his family. I'm like, pardon my French, but I was like, screw this guy. But the older ones, you know, some of them kind of shoot the other agents down, whereas the young ones
build each other up.
They build each other up, and then it's like, hey, Steph Tripp, you're like, how are you? Nice to see you. How's your baby? By the way, like, let's work together and like close this deal together. And she's like, yeah, let's do it, Joe. We're friends. Or like you and Paul, it's like, hey, blah blah blah.
And well, that's why we do that cooperation campaign with like Brady and Mitchell Deslick and Paul, to show that, look, we're all in this together, and if we don't work together, you're not going to be able to help your clients put if we're all butting heads, it's not the way to go.
Honestly, it's crazy to think that this is like a newer change in the real estate market. Like it's sad to think that like it's taken this long for us to get to that point.
I think our generation is just better at that in general. I mean, look at the companies that have spawned from our generation, things like Uber and Airbnb and all these things that are all based on like
kind of working together.
It's a community thing. It's like, hey, I stayed there and I really loved your place, and they're like, well, we really loved you as guests, and we're both going to tell each other about that, and the next person's going to hear about how awesome you were, and it's about building each other up, and you can tell in this business, when you've got to deal with somebody who doesn't have that mindset, and it becomes immediately combative. It becomes immediately like, I'm gonna pull this and do that and punch you in the face here, and I'm gonna try to, and then I'm gonna go back to my clients and say, we won.
I think this is why you're seeing the growth of teams. And if you look at the majority of teams, it's usually the younger generations that are coming together, that want to work in common spaces and work together. And a lot of the ones that disagree at joining the teams are those solo agents that just don't want to adapt to the newer trends and the times. And there's nothing more powerful than a team. I mean, look at the team you have behind you. You couldn't do what you did without the team.
Not a day.
I can't do what I do without the team. We all are. We're all leaning on each other, and we're each other's crutch.
It should be about helping everybody get what they want.
For sure.
Right? Like the buyer should be happy to get what they're getting, and that realtor should be working with us to make that happen, and we should be working with you to make sure that our sellers are happy. And if we can all do that without bad-mouthing each other, I think the whole thing turns into a way easier space.
I remember last year, my friends, there was a little lull in the market. They were selling their house in South Walkerville, and then they bought in Riverside. And for whatever reason, the house just wouldn't sell. Beautiful house. I staged it. It just wouldn't sell for what they needed. And I remember I was so shocked. Donica was their realtor, and she was messaging Shout out Donica. She was messaging every single young realtor in the city, trying to find a buyer for them. And it was like, awesome. Instead of it, she wasn't just sitting there waiting for it. She was like, hey, Chris, hey, Joe, hey, whoever, like, do you know anyone? And like, and then I see it happen all the time. Like,
I think I know exactly what listing, and I think she did shout.
She probably, she worked her, and I'm this, my friend, hey, Courtney, she's a ball buster. But I always said, Donica worked hard for that commission, but she literally, I was there. She was messaging, it does, and that wouldn't happen. Like, you don't have the, the seasoned ones who aren't chummy with everyone. They're not going to be messaging like, hey, we fought at that offer presentation, but do you know anyone who wants it?
Whereas a lot of the time they're going to sit down with their clients and they're going to go, your house isn't selling. We need to talk about a price reduction. And that because that was the way it was for decades.
Exactly.
Right? Well, sorry, what we didn't work, and obviously your house isn't worth that, so we're going to reduce the price. It's like, why don't we try some connection first.
Exactly, and that's
kidding.
I'm telling you, like the relationships that realtors have really been fostering lately. I see it, and I love it because we're working with all these different ones, and when I see them liking each other's listings or like sharing each other's listings, it brings me joy because then it's like I don't feel scared to be like, oh yeah, I did 4 with Paul last week and 3 with Joe and 6 with someone. You know what I mean? Like it's.
Who's got 6?
Exactly. But that's a beautiful thing that I think is huge, especially you and Paul specifically. I love seeing your guys' bromance.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Always working for you.
For life.
Yeah.
I grew up with Paul. His little brother John was one of my best friends. He is one of my best friends still.
That's awesome.
Growing up, and I'd be running around. Paul's probably passed out, hungover on a bed, and I'm like climbing over him to hide behind a bed in like a hide and go seek game that we're playing. I grew up with his mom and dad and family, and they were second family to me. And when I got into the business, the reason I went to Royal LePage is because he was the only one that I knew, and he's been a huge crush for me and a big inspiration towards the way I grew up.
I think he's very graceful, considering a lot of like. People backpack off his branding and, he did the funny thing. Now everyone's doing the funny thing. And so I think he's graceful, for what, right. He's done a lot for this Windsor market and he's been graceful about letting, people run with it. But he's definitely been a huge part of it.
Going into trends really quick, I wanted to ask you this and I don't want to forget.
Yeah.
I want to know your favorite style in the past, and also the styles that you look back and you just cringe and absolutely hate, like the red fire red shag carpets or anything like that. But I want to which one makes you cringe the most, and which one do you look back at and you wish was in style again?
So one thing I absolutely hate, and I've done it once and I want to shoot myself in the face for doing it. I hate a set table. I think it's like the tackiest thing.
Like with the dinner set.
Yeah, and the napkins, and it's like you can't even see the table because there's like 17 settings.
The one we went to, I'm not going to name the address because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but we went to a house, and the only reason I knew it wasn't David's
him was because
it had the set table, and I was like, who staged this home? Yeah. And I wasn't too impressed by it, and then I saw the set table, like, not Burman.
No, I can't take
not.
it. Yeah. A set table just makes me want to cringe. Yeah. I honestly love color, and right now it's not really popular, which is kind of sad. But yeah, gray walls.
I feel the same way, for the record. I'm
like
a very colorful person.
Well, I'm really enjoying seeing people do the two-tone kitchens with like that dark green or that,
blue,
really grayish green
really
or grayish blue.
I'm hoping color comes back a little bit. Yeah. I do love the new townhouse I'm doing is very neutral because especially for our guests, they need something neutral and calm.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, like, as wild as it is, it needs to be warm and inviting.
Yeah. But you do accent colors.
Yeah, I'm trying to, tone myself down, but I'm hoping that a little bit of life comes back into design. Outside of Windsor, you'll see so much more color and, even like risky. Like for me, people want small little stage furniture in their house, but the reality is like sometimes I want to put a big piece because especially like Riverdale, like where are you going to put a big sectional? But everyone wants a sectional. So sometimes, someone's like, I want really small pieces so it feels bigger. It's like, okay, you can do that. But then at the same time, like, let's put a freaking sectional in there. You know
show
what
people
I mean?
You can,
so that's one thing is like people need to, I think Windsorites specifically need to get out of their comfort level and not be so jaded and see that like there's life beyond Windsor and like.
So I go to a lot of houses and people kind of like, oh, we don't need staging, we have this and this. So what I've been starting to do is I'm doing 2 houses today like this. I go to their house with green painter's tape and I just start sticking painter's tape on all the furniture that's going, and I drop that bin off and I say anything with tape is gone, and then I'm gonna have my stager do his thing, and whether you like it or not, I don't care. That he's the professional on this, and I understand it may not be your style, but you got to trust me on this. And because some styles they're not showing the home's true full potential, and they'll be like, but I love my antique china hutch and with
Yeah.
glassware, and I'm just like, I
It's
understand
nice,
it will be in the bin on Highway 42. If
We'll
you
wrap
need
it up
Yeah.
for you.
It'll be waiting for you. It's not going anywhere, but
We die. So Joe is the only realtor that does his own quote videos, and we die. Sam and I, when we plan the stages, we like cry because he'd be like, yeah, a little mirror here, yeah, maybe an accent pillow, yeah, maybe a rug, rug for sure, maybe an 8x10, oh, maybe a 7x9.
Yeah.
I think Joe could have a part-time job as my full-time quoting coordinator.
My clients are always in the background laughing, and I'll walk in but a lot of times I'm like, I don't know, like your thing here. Like I'm like, maybe like a cowhide, and over here, like whatever, you do your berm thing over here.
Yeah.
Because like when I'm confused, I'll just say the berm thing.
Yeah. You're like, just put like whatever you want here, but like something here.
Something here.
And you're like, can you cover that up?
Am I wrong though?
No, honestly, it kills me.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah, I tap into my inner berm.
Sam will send it to me. So I don't like, a lot of times she does the quotes and she'll just send me the video. She's like, for your viewing delight.
That's hilarious.
And we'll cry.
I love them. I got 2 I'm doing today for you.
Oh my God, I love them.
I'm doing 2 videos today for her.
I'll like drink
She's
wine
got 2
and just
more.
watch them. Like it's just like hilarious.
Yeah. I should do my own little podcast
You
on
should.
Joe's.
So funny.
Joe's. I don't know. I'm trying
One
to.
I'll
thing-
be in the background making
One thing I
making
have
fun
to
of
say
you.
about your staging that I have noticed that so many people say is people walk in and they go, wow, this house is so beautiful. And then I say, oh, it's staged. And they are like, what? I had no idea. So I have to give you the compliment
Thank
there
you.
because I think that is also a fine line.
Yeah.
Because there is houses where you go into and you're like, oh, wow,
Yes.
this is staged.
Yeah.
What is your take on the and we have a couple of your signs here. I should give it to you before
Thank
you go. What is your take on the Mr. Style signs on the lawn? This has been like a controversial things between the clients, and I'm sure you got this.
100%.
Do we want to advertise that at stage? Obviously, we want to promote you, but
Yeah.
do we want to advertise our listings as a staged home, or do we want to take that sign off and?
So one thing that for me, I think it's important we don't want it to look staged. Mm-hmm. We want it to look like it's lived in. Mm-hmm. So that's why like we tend to put more, and we like, we want it to feel lived in. I feel, obviously I want my stages on every lawn in Windsor. Yeah. So I would say, yeah, we want them, but people don't care like they used to, especially now that 90% of the houses in the market are staged. It's important that people know.
It looks good on the realtor, obviously, too,
yeah.
because it shows that we go.
They're investing it, exactly.
There's been ones where they're not comfortable. We take the sign off the lawn for the listing, but we put it back on after it's sold just to show that it was a stage.
Some homeowners are a little embarrassed because they're like, especially if the houses are really bad, they're like, yeah, they're embarrassed. But my new signs are so cool. I don't think anyone's gonna wanna. I'm like dancing. So the new ones.
The house is gonna sell itself.
Yeah.
And then when I go back, I'm like, "Where's my sign?" Yeah. And there's certain realtors who always hide my signs, but it's okay.
Yeah. You haven't done a video in a while.
So we actually, we've been so busy that it's hard to keep up, and like I hate photos, but like our marketing person she can't even leave the office at this point. So my favorite videographer, he is just too busy. This is where I just kick myself in the foot. We have an awesome local videographer who we had do 8 videos in the past 2 days. So you're gonna see a lot of reels coming out. Nice. But it's hard, like with being so busy.
It is. I'll do some for you. I'll get my little videos on.
I am the worst. Like I actually I would love, again, if anyone's looking for a job and you're a videographer, I would hire you tomorrow, because like I want to dance. I have all these ideas. Like,
you need someone to put it into action.
I need someone to put it into action. I can barely unlock my phone. So
we got some before afters coming for the other ones. We did the video, so we're gonna do the before afters for you. Obviously, it's not berm swimming in a pool.
Yeah.
Those are the ones
I want to do so I have this idea where it's like every week I want to do my Netflix thing. So like, when Cheer was coming out, I wanted to rise up and I bought like the white soup, and then I didn't have time. And then by the time I'm ready to do the video, I'm like, okay, anymore, now it's the Tinder swindler. So I'm like,
the importance of a team though, right? Like having a good team behind you. And I think
good people, that's the big thing. Mm-hmm. So if videographer, you're hired. Come my way. But they need to do TikToks, because again, I just want to dance. dance.
Exactly. See, I mean, you can get along because I feel like this is the same kind of thing I'm trying to get them on board with. We're doing it slowly, but I've been trying for a long time.
I always try to steal Eric, like Paul's marketing director. I'm always like, hey, Eric, can we do a video? Like the one that I did with Chris Tolda, I was, Chris didn't want to, I mean, he wanted to do it, but I was like, Chris, we're getting on the bike.
Oh, that one.
That was a good one. And then we were even, the twins and I had a Christmas special. We just couldn't make it. We're all so busy, but this year we'll definitely do it.
You done the one with Jill in the pool, and we had to dumb that one down.
Yeah,
and I wish we could put that
one was amazing.
That one was really good. I have it in the archives.
Yeah.
It was too good.
I feel like now
I was gonna say you could release something like that now
the homeowners
because
in her new house.
Exactly. She's not worried about the image of selling
exactly.
it.
We'll just let it. It's leaked.
Right.
But Jill killed me in that video. She's like, David, get out of the pool. I just love an indoor pool. I can't help it. The first indoor pool actually that I was swam in got filled in.
Really?
Filled in, and that awesome Stan, who's an awesome client of mine, he spent so much money restoring this indoor pool. And then the person who bought it called him, had the nerve to say, hey, do you know anyone who could fill in my pool? And he's like, figure it out yourself. Like, if anyone's, I want to
call the past owner and ask them who would fill in it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I know someone who could fill it with water.
It's
where do they go?
So sad. I love an indoor pool.
A portion of what you paid for was because of the
literally, so sad.
But I do appreciate you coming on today. This is one that we've been kind of had on the back burner. We're like, we got to get David in, but I know you've been really busy, and I'm glad we were able to steal you away. And you're heading out tomorrow.
I'm heading out right now, so I'm leaving. I need to leave. I'm gonna go get my suitcase and head to the airport.
Well, let's look forward.
Literally, right now.
Let's look forward to some collaboration because we were talking before this about our booths at the wedding show and how we can maybe collaborate on putting those together.
And let's do some videos at the stages, even if we do like a hop or
but anybody looking to get their house staged, Mr. Style, House Clean, Mr. Made, they got the storefront, they have the collection. Is it Mr. Style?
If you need your wedding plan, I'll plan your wedding.
I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
Let me know what you need.
He'll do it all.
There will be mimosas involved in all of the above.
If your house looks like shit and you want it to look better,
give us a call.
This is the guy.
1-800
Mr. Something.
Yeah. Mr. Something.
Thanks, David.
Awesome. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys.